Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Sensei Gilliland. Thanks for being on the show, Sensei.
Hey, appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show. Just our conversation before recording has been very interesting, and you have a very unique background, and this is awesome. So, but thank you so much for your time. But real quick, I want to remind the listeners to go to our Facebook group, the Real Estate Syndication Show. We can learn from experts like Sensei and about all different parts of the business. You can ask questions. You can ask questions that you want me to ask guests on the show as well, and then also go to Life Bridge Capital where you can connect with me personally. So a little bit, Sensei, he founded Black Belt Investors and began investing in 1995. Since then, he has created cash through wholesaling real estate, obtained wealth through rental properties, and continues to teach his methods through educational events, helping people to achieve their financial dreams. He has mastered the art of buy, sell, and hold techniques, and after attaining his first goal of making $1 million in real estate, he began teaching others using his simple yet effective methods. And that's great to hear that, like you had success, and then it's like, how can I teach others to do this same thing so they can have that same kind of success? So thank you again, Sensei, for being on the show, and give the listeners a little more about who you are and maybe how the company got the name Black Belt Investors, and then let's dive into it.
Right on. Well, guys, I'm just like you. I was a listener. But back then I wasn't listening to podcasts. I was listening to 8-tracks and cassettes. And so, honestly, cassette was back in the day for me. But in real estate investing has been very intriguing to me. And I started my very first business of martial arts right out of high school. I graduated in 87, 88, rolled around and opened up my first school, which I still own and operate today. We own several of them throughout LA County. But that is an after school, evening, night type of job. And I knew that it would fulfill me in what I love to do, and that's teach. I know that I'm a natural born teacher. And so with that, I was able to grow that business up to 11 facilities. But I also realized that it's not going to be enough to achieve my financial dreams. And so with that, I was looking at a lot of different businesses, and everybody's after passive businesses, right? It's got to be easy, got to make some money. And so I was actually taking a look at coin-op car washes. And why? Well, because you hire a senior citizen for 2 hours a day. They fill up the soaps, they collect all the coins, and basically you got a 24/7-hour business that runs water and not a whole lot to take care of. Well, one thing I didn't understand. I didn't understand lease, build to suit, commercial, zoning, all that stuff. Didn't understand it. I understand the process of building the business. I understand the business itself, but I didn't understand the real estate. But you know what, Whitney, this is what I learned. Real estate controls all businesses. And when I figured that out, I'm in. And so I kind of ditched the coin-op car wash thing and just jumped right into real estate. Now, trust me, I am a sink or swim type of guy. Not everybody's like that, but I would assume you are because you've got a military background. And I find those guys are very much like me with a martial arts background, very disciplined, show lots of respect, honor, and do your best and to serve others before you serve yourself. And so with that, I jumped into real estate back in 1994. Heard some guy at LAX talking about flipping houses. I wanted to get involved, thought I could do it during the day because I had a night job. And next thing you know, I swiped my credit card for $1,500 to attend a 3-day seminar. Fantastic. Got a lot of information, very basic information, but it was a new language to me, so it was everything. Next thing you know, I swiped my card for another $32,000 to buy into a bouquet of seminars. They didn't call them boot camps back then. And I wanted to flip houses, but I'm sitting there learning about mobile home parks, creative financing, rehabbing, pre-foreclosures, asset protection, a bunch of stuff that's important, but not really what I was after. And so I had to funnel it all down and get down to fixing and flipping properties. Well, 95 rolled around, and it was a very big year for me. I was dating my girlfriend that became a fiance. We got married. We bought a house. We had a baby. The house was a textbook real estate deal where there's an out-of-state owner that was an alcoholic. Her husband had passed away. The house was, in despair, and it was a short sale. And I bought it, pennies on the dollar. Fixed it up, did a cash out refinance. I bought my very first fix and flip in Fort Myers, Florida, while living here in California, all in the year of 1995. And I can tell you right now, people are probably thinking that's a lot to do in 1 year, because just planning a wedding or having a baby is enough, right? That's
sure.
kind of how I roll. So we jumped right in, bought our very first fix and flip. And, I was told it's going to take about 6 months to get it all fixed up, flip, and make some money. Next thing you know, 7 months come around, 8 months come around. I didn't have the money to go back and take a look at the property. I only saw it one time when I bought it. But 9 months comes, I get a FedEx envelope, rip it open, pull out a check with a little over $9,000 in net profits. Whitney, I did it. I did it. I did it remotely. I did it without the internet, because we didn't have the internet like we do today. I didn't get to see the property. The only time I got to see a property is when the contractor sent me a Polaroid, and that was my update. But I made a little over $9,000. And so I treated that first fix and flip like I treat a can of Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. And so I went back over there and started buying more properties. And today's date, we're knocking on the door of 15,000 flips, providing turnkey houses and apartment complexes to investors worldwide. And with that comes along syndications as well.
Nice. So it's a very interesting story. I appreciate you sharing. And one thing that it doesn't matter if you're fixing and flipping, which 15,000 flips, it's extremely impressive. No doubt you have developed great systems and great processes to be able to achieve that kind of number. Is that where are all those flips? Is it like nationwide? Is it a couple different markets?
Yeah, so I've always been, a real estate nomad. I move from market to market. I typically find a distressed market that historically has done well in the past. And so when that distressed market appears, I go in and I start doing my research on the local economy, the state economy, figuring out, is this market going to blossom again, or is it going to be completely dead? And so we've been able to move around in markets before they become an emerging market, and have been able to buy dirt low and then turn around and resell at low prices. So I kind of model my business like Costco, where we move quality product, but at very good pricing. And so with that, we've been in anywhere from Florida to Hawaii to, Ohio to Phoenix to Texas, slap dab in the middle of the United States of Kansas City, Missouri. So we've been in quite a few markets over the years.
Can you maybe talk about how you're finding that next market, or what you're looking for? And, because that's what all of us want to do, right? It's finding that next emerging market. And would you elaborate on that?
Yeah. First, I think number one, everybody has to have at least the basics of understanding of a real estate cycle. They got to understand that real estate cycles don't happen nationwide simultaneously. They're all in different cycles. So a lot of people say, well, California. No, we're in California. Well, in Los Angeles, we're in Los Angeles, because there's so many micro markets within Los Angeles County. It's not fair to just dump them all in one basket. And so to understand, the expansion stage, the contraction stage, the recession stage, things like that is very important in my business. And so I want to see where the next market is going to fall. And if they have already fallen, are they getting ready to pick back up again? And so let's say, for an example, if we just trail back that we're all familiar with, I'm sure everybody on this podcast today is all familiar with our Great Depression or recession. Felt like a depression, right? So our Great Recession, right? 2008. Well, your primary markets fell apart pretty darn big. Your California's, Texas, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Florida. Those are your diamond states. Your diamond states are Florida, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, and California. Why are they the diamond states? Because they appreciate the best historically. And when they appreciate really high, like they did back in 2005 and 6, they also crash the fastest and the hardest, but they also bounce back the quickest. And so when we were doing a lot of deals of fixing and flipping here in Southern California, Phoenix, and Las Vegas, we were working this triangle here back in 2004, 5, and 6. Market falls apart. Well, I jump over to North Carolina, because North Carolina at that time, specifically Charlotte, was not falling in value. They were actually rising in value because they were set back a little bit in this real estate cycle. So we were still able to buy at a very good price, collect appreciation in 2008 and 9, and then it really started tapering off. So for us, it's important to be able to watch and measure these different markets. And you've got a lot of companies out there that do put out annual reports like NAR, or possibly your local realtors association or title companies that provide these reports. Then you can dive a little bit deeper and maybe go into CoreLogic or something where you subscribe to and start watching these trends. But to me, the media, that's mass media and everybody knows about it. So with that, we got to go and start diving in and figuring out, okay, Phoenix just crashed, and they crashed big time because they had over a 50% appreciation rate in 2005, which is insane. Well, if they fell apart, do they have the ability to recover? The housing market fell apart in Phoenix, but the economy did not. In fact, it was still growing at a rapid pace, and still 10 years later doing extremely well with where they're in the top 10 growing economies. So that tells us, okay, we've got a safety net here. Sure, real estate fell apart, but if the jobs are here, people still move here. So we were selling properties turnkey in Phoenix for $250,000, but now buying them at auction for $28,000 to $32,000 for the same house that was only 2 or 3 years old. And so we gobbled up as many as we could. And then not only did we recognize that, a few years later, who recognized it? Blackstone, other big hedge fund buyers came in and started gobbling everything up, which pushed the values up, and the demand rose as well, and the inventory shrunk. And so then we got to take a look and say, okay, these companies that got billions to spend, they have a ceiling. They have a certain criteria of where they're going to have to cap themselves. And once they're capped, they're going to have an excess of money. Where are they going to move to next? And so we take a look at secondary markets at that time. So we're buying a lot between 2009 to 2012 in Phoenix and Vegas. We pull out of Vegas in 2014. We're buying properties now in Indianapolis and over in Kansas City, Missouri, thinking, okay, these two markets historically have done very well. They've been solid markets. They're going to offer a certain price point, a certain cap rate. The economy is there. The job is there. The rental market is there. So if these hedge fund buyers max out, where are they going to go next? My hunch is going to be these secondary markets. And so we moved over and started buying properties over there for $15,000, $20,000, multi-units starting about $40,000. And you know what comes? Here comes the hedge fund buyers, and they start buying things up after us, pushing those values up. And so we bounced over to another market like Cleveland. And Cleveland, we've been there since 2012, I believe, doing very well. It's an undervalued market. Investors love the apartments there because you can literally buy something dirt cheap and get, double-digit returns. Well, hedge fund buyers now started slowly moving over in that direction, buying more properties, gobbling up inventory. So, we've been very, very in tune with what's happening in the market space so that we can basically get our boots in. And I don't want to say we're lucky, because luck is for people that don't know what they're doing, but we've been somewhat lucky, but, because we're forecasting, and when you're forecasting, we don't really know what's going to happen in the future, right?
But we forecasted very well. Yeah. It's a very educated guess, though. That's what everybody's doing, right? Taking all the information that you're talking about and doing the best that you can. But you were talking about, there's so many things there we could talk about, but you said, you pulled out of Vegas in 2014. Like, when would you know to leave a market like that?
Well, the reason why we pulled out of Vegas in 2014 is because auction.com came into town. They started controlling Vegas only has one auction location, whereas in Phoenix, we were working 12 different auction locations that were happening Monday through Friday. So the inventory is much more constrained in the Vegas market. To me, Vegas is a linear economy. What I mean by that is that everything relies on gambling. If gambling's down, everything else falls apart. You can go there during the recession time, and hotels are still sold out, but they're sold out at dirt cheap prices. Buffets, people like me are still going to line up, but the gambling tables are a little empty. And so gambling's way down, gambling's down, construction's down, everything is down. And with only having one auction location with auction.com coming into place, that made it a little bit hard for us to acquire the deals that we needed because it's a linear economy and Vegas is surrounded by mountains. So it's kind of like this bowl. And so they can't really expand much more than what they already have. But when you match up the Vegas market and the Phoenix market, they have the same type of house, the same pricing, the same rents are going on, the same weather. Everything's basically the same except for one thing, the economy. The economy over in Phoenix is basically booming, where Vegas is slowly starting to recover. And so when we are measuring those two different markets, we said, you know, it's best for us just to stay in the Phoenix market because we do have that safety net. To me, it's very important to know how to get out of an investment before you get into the investment. And when I'm out there serving other investors, it's very important to me that I put a hedge of protection around them. And so I like exit strategies, and Phoenix at that time offered more exit strategies than Vegas. So it was a very simple decision.
Nice. So some great information, and it's just impressive to me that like you're able to pretty much just, you know, pick the market and you can just establish there and make it happen, and you know, pretty much anywhere in the country. And so could you tell me, you know, a couple processes that you've put in place that have been crucial, and just being able to just say, okay, you know, you hadn't bought anything in Cleveland before, but I know that's where we need to go. What's, you know, the first few processes or systems you're going to have in place to make that happen?
Yeah, so if we're scouting new neighborhoods or new cities, I basically set up camp. You know, I work like Navy SEAL. I rope off a perimeter. I learn everything about that perimeter before I get over there, so I know what to do when I get there. So I'm not just, you know, driving up and down the streets hoping to stumble across something. I make a lot of appointments, especially with the building departments in those cities, so I can find and figure out if there's any new construction, if there's any new infrastructure that's going to be, you know, rebuilt or built, what's happening in that town. Plus, is a business-friendly atmosphere? That's another importance to me, because it's business friendly, then businesses will start pouring in there. So I set up a lot of appointments, and I spend literally about a month in that area learning everything from residential to commercial to lending to tax law to infrastructure to new businesses coming in town. Learn it inside and out. I need to know it like the back of my hand.
So you personally are going to go there and stay at least a month?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Me and a team. I don't do it by myself. There's no way I can do it all by myself. So I bring a small team and we just set up camp and we learn everything about the market. Then we test the market, because there's a lot of things that, like for instance, you mentioned Cleveland. There's a lot of things in Cleveland that I've never experienced before in other markets. And literally I have covered, you know, quite a bit of different states in the United States in being in these different markets. But Cleveland has acted a little bit differently with certain things that they've recently put in place. And so I ended up losing about $48,000 right off the bat with single family houses. Well, that's my mistake, but I'm there to make those mistakes so I can learn. It's a cost of doing business. No one likes to lose money, but if you're going to be in business, expect it. I don't care how good you are. I mean, I was freaking sitting on a panel just 2 weeks ago with some Australian guy talking about he's been in the business for 20 years and he's never lost a red cent. BS. You're lying. You're lying to these people. Don't make yourself sound good. I call them out on it. So you're going to lose money. So I test the market first, try it out, learn what the kinks that we need to iron out, and then I start bringing over investors.
No, I love it. Love that you are like, you're personally going there, but also like I would call it like pre-investigation work, you know, like before
Right.
you ever get there, you understand the market. You're already making those connections. You're setting up the meetings. You're not just hoping that you run into something when you get there or somebody drives you around. Like you're going to know those streets before you ever arrive there.
Yeah, exactly. I tell everybody, hoping and wishing is not a course of action. You know, and I find that a lot of my students or a lot of my investors or people that are not my investors, but listen to me and want to go try things out on their own, whether it's Cleveland, Phoenix, Indianapolis, wherever it may be, they fly out there. They just drive around in circles like driving Mrs. Daisy, right? Trying to figure things out. And then they go buy something. And the next thing you know, they're being ripped off. They're paying too much. They bought in the wrong neighborhood, and they end up losing a lot of money, which is very unfortunate. But, you know, you can either take wise counsel or you can take a complete risk.
All right, Sensei, a few more questions before we run out of time.
Shoot them at me.
What's been the hardest part of this, the real estate business for you?
The hardest part is working with engineers. What I mean is as clients, because they question everything to death. What about this? What about that? No, I'm joking, kind of. But the hardest thing is, you know what? I'm just going to be honest. I can pretty much take care of everything, but the two most difficult things in this business, whether you're working by flipping a house or you're doing a syndication on an apartment complex, is working with contractors and property management, because they can be your best friend or worst enemy. And I'm sorry, it's not some big story I can tell, but honestly, it boils down to who's taking care of your property and how much leverage do you have with them. Because if the property management is not going to do their job, or they're just going to nickel and dime you to death, your investment's going to go straight down the drain. And if your contractor is doing the same or not showing up, you're going to lose a lot of money. So those are the two things that I have found difficulty with. Anything in regards to the process of the transaction itself, like I always tell my wife, don't worry about it, it'll work out. And it usually does.
Are there any techniques you've learned, or maybe one specifically that's helped you in navigating that relationship with the property management or general contractor?
Yeah, so we do a lot of vetting with property management. We don't own property management, but we do screen them pretty heavily. And as well as I do, they're going to say what they want to say to make themselves sound good, right? But there's a track record. So if I'm going to go for property management in an unfamiliar territory, I'm probably going to call up a lot of different RIAs in the area, real estate investment associations. There's meetups in the area, other investors, home investors, whoever's got, base camp on the grounds, and start really researching, hey, who do you guys go to for property management? And that'll start being an indicator of filtering down these property management companies, that if you start hearing from RE/MAX and Century 21 and your local RIA group saying, hey, go to ABC Property Management over here, we send a lot of people there, that's probably a pretty good indicator that you should probably go look and vet them, because they're being referred by other people. That is a starting point for us. And the same thing goes with contractors as well. But we like to hold everybody accountable too. So yeah, there's techniques that come along with holding your contractor accountable, making sure that things that get done on time, making sure that you don't rely on your contractor to give you the word, yeah, walk through the property, everything's good. No, maybe you hire a project manager on the ground. So I deploy project managers out of California to set up camp in all the different markets that we're in. And then they follow and trail behind the contractor and make sure that they're doing their job on a timely manner and properly. So yeah, it's a little bit more of a detailed process and a little bit more of an expense, but it's worth it if you can take care of all your investors.
How do you prepare for another downturn?
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so listen, in Southern California, back in 2006, I had a company come out of Chicago to take a look at my company to basically figure out all the cracks in my company so we can seal them up, right? Because we know the downturn was coming. And at that time, there was 126 real estate clubs happening in Southern California. I owned 2 of them at that time. So I ran real estate clubs for 16 years. So 2008 rolls around, and out of that 126 real estate clubs, there were only 9 left, and 2 of them are mine. So you got to ask yourself, what happened? Yeah, real estate, it all tanked. What happened is that those real estate club leaders that were pushing turnkey investments, pre-construction, fix and flips, wholesaling, did not know how to act like a Navy SEAL when it came to real estate, adapt to the situation. And so they went back to their job at Walmart or wherever they were working before, and then they jumped on the bandwagon, renamed themselves, rebranded when everything got easy and good again. So the question to me from you was, how do I set up for these downturns? Look, it's easy for me because I'm a wholesaler first. Wholesaling doesn't just mean assigning contracts. Wholesaling means acquisition at wholesale prices, whether you're going to flip a contract, buy, fix, and flip a property, or buy and hold, or even move into the property. That's a true wholesaler. Wholesaler, if you can picture a yin yang, we know what a yin yang is, right? The little circle with a little squirrely line with the two circles there. Wholesaling is here. So when the cycles change and it's tough to wholesale, you can't get these properties, it's out of balance. So for me, what's important is putting together this other component here called purchase options. Purchase options would be considered subject to financing, lease options, contract for deeds, land installment contracts, owner financing, wraparound mortgages, AITDs. And this is the creative financing. Wholesaling is about equity positions, and creative financing is not so much about equity positions. And so when this downturn came, I was able to balance myself out by acquiring properties that people could no longer afford and taking them over with financing already in place. So it's a great way for me to build up my portfolio because, number one, I can't get any more loans. I'm tapped out. My wife is now tapped out on loans. We do things separately in regards to real estate. She qualifies for 10, I qualify for 10. 20 loans, I'm done. So I either have to pay cash or I have to use some sort of creative financing. Now the option is, do I pay cash or creative financing? Creative financing all day long, right? Because then I can keep my cash in the bank and utilize it for other type of investments. And so I love going after apartment complexes, commercial buildings with owner financing in place. And so it's a great strategy on the downturn of the market, because if I can use a creative financing, then I keep my cash liquid. So when the market falls apart, I can go gobble everything up with cash at the auction. Already done it. It's not theory. It's already been done. So we're just waiting for the next downturn.
What's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
Oh, recently improved my business. A few things come to mind. Number one, I don't care how good you are, get a business coach. Get a business coach, okay? You need a business coach, and then you need a real estate coach, because they're two different things. Real estate sure is a business, but it's also a product and service. And there's strategies that go along with that the business coach wouldn't understand. Business coach is going to be more of your operations, so you can start streamlining things. I find a lot of people run out to YouTube and stuff to learn stuff, and that's great. That's the how-to place to go to. But trust me, you're not going to get the meat and potatoes of syndications or running a business by YouTube. So it's important that for me that I check in with a business coach. It's important for me to check in with a real estate coach to keep me in line. It's also important for me to check in with a marketing coach, because I don't care what business you're in, you're a marketer first. If you're doing syndications, you got to market to get funds. You got to get investors. If you're doing syndication, you got to market to get deals. So marketing is very, very key. And unfortunately, when it comes to a downturn of marketing, the number one thing that gets X'd out of a business is marketing. That's where you should ramp it up and rise to the occasion. So I think coaching and consulting by people that have been there, done that, is by far the most important structure that you should have for your business.
I couldn't agree with that more. You said, no matter what business you're in, you're in marketing first. And I seen this clip the other day that said, no marketing is like a guy winking at a lady in the dark. The only person that knows about it was him. It's like,
right. I love that.
That's awesome. But what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Relentlessness. Just, man, look, well, I wear this shirt all the time. I'm proud to wear my shirt. Black belt investors, but our tagline is disciplined investing. You have to be disciplined. And when you're disciplined, you have to be relentless to whatever your goals are. Because if you're not, no one else is going to be. It's just not going to happen. I want my dreams to turn into reality. I don't want to be sitting on the porch wishing and hoping that my lawn's going to get mowed, because it's not going to get mowed unless I get out there and start pushing the mower, or I do some deals and pay someone to do it. So relentlessness, focus, discipline, and serving others first is by far the most important in my business.
Well, that leads us right into the last question, is how do you like to give back?
Oh, well, several ways. Number one, I'm an educator. I love to educate. So there's a lot of things that I do for free helping people. Just recently, I promote this thing called Coffee with Sensei. That basically means 3 times a year, you get 45 minutes of my time. We sit down at Starbucks and I just line people up from basically 12 p.m. until 8 p.m. at night, 45-minute sessions straight through. Giving back, because I have no idea why they're coming to see me. Some people want to learn how to fix and flip. Some people want to wholesale. Some people want to build a rental portfolio. Some people just want to come for the social outlet. It doesn't matter to me. As long as we can walk away shaking hands and I got a smile on your face, we're good to go. So I give away that way. 2, I tithe. A tithe means a tenth of my gross. Everything that I tithe goes towards my church. And right now we're building a new church because my church is held out of a high school. So I'm contributing for that. And right now we're looking to actually buy and make turnkey properties in Cleveland for vets and give it to them for free. So that's something we're working on right now. Yeah, something we're working on right now.
Appreciate you sharing that. That's incredible. Yeah. Numerous ways there to give back. I appreciate that, Sensei. Well, great show. I really appreciate you elaborating on just how you look for markets, when you've gone to markets, when you've stopped investing in markets, and numerous other things about your processes and marketing that we've talked about. It's been a great show, Sensei. Tell the listeners, though, how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, that's simple. blackbeltinvestors.com. That's very easy. If you want to look at our properties, go to remoterehabs.com or simply give us a call here at 951-280-1900. Again, 951-280-1900. Look forward to talking to you. Love to set up a 30-minute free strategy session. I offer one to everybody, one time.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by Life Bridge Capital. Life Bridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. Life Bridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.